there's two kinds of prison compounds. There's the inmate-run compound where the inmates decide what happens, and then there's the officer-run compound. Well, when I got to Dublin, it was definitely an inmate-run compound, but I didn't know that because that was the first prison that I went to. When I got there, I met a woman named Red, and she was definitely one of the people that ran the compound. She had this bigger-than-life personality. I guess she'd been like a radio DJ before she came to prison. She had all gold teeth, and I also found out that Red had her own wing in one of the units. She had two rooms to herself, which is so weird because the rest of us are sharing like multiple people in these little tiny closet-style cells. Red was also a hoarder, and she's not the only one. There were a lot of people that hoarded stuff in prison. The thing that the women loved, which is something I'll never understand, is perfume. They actually sell these cheap little, to me, awful perfumes on commissary, and they trade them out every month. So the women love them, and they'll get like 20, 30, sometimes I've seen people have 100 bottles of perfume. They collect them because every month they have a new one. I think they're only like $3. But I remember when I was in education, one of the officers that worked there would get this migraine headache, and she'd say, please don't wear the perfume. Like after a girl would shower and she'd douse herself in perfume, you couldn't even breathe. Those were the weird things. Like I couldn't believe that people would hoard stuff in prison when you have just a little tiny cell, but they did. Now, it didn't happen so much at like the officer-run compounds because they would come in and say, you can't have stuff under your bed. You can't like, I've seen people with bags of stuff everywhere, the way they would compartmentalize, but that didn't happen if it was an officer-run compound.